Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're diving into something pretty amazing, the role of zinc in the immune system. We've got some excerpts here from a scientific study, zinc as a gatekeeper of immune function. And I think what we uncover here might just change how you think about your nutrition and your health.
Yeah, it's true. The research is pretty eye-opening. One of the things that really stood out to me is how common zinc deficiency is. It's a global issue
Okay.
affecting about 2 billion people, especially in developing countries.
2 billion, that's almost a third of the world's population. I had no idea it was so widespread.
Yeah, and it's not just limited to developing countries either. Even in developed nations, we see a significant percentage of the elderly population, nearly 30%, struggling with zinc deficiency.
That's surprising. You'd think with access to such diverse food and supplements, that wouldn't be such a
I
problem.
think so, right. But it's more complex than that. There are a lot of factors at play. Diet, absorption, certain medical conditions all contribute to this surprisingly prevalent deficiency, and the consequences are pretty far-reaching.
Yeah, the study mentioned links to chronic diseases like rheumatoid arthritis and diabetes, and even cognitive decline, which is a bit scary.
Exactly. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. The impact of zinc deficiency ripples across a surprisingly wide range of health issues. What's fascinating here is that zinc itself, though crucial, isn't actually that abundant in our bodies. It's the second most abundant metal after iron, but it's not evenly distributed.
So where do we find these higher concentrations of zinc in the body?
Well, organs like the prostate, pancreas, and bone are particularly zinc-rich. In contrast, the heart, brain, and even our plasma have comparatively lower levels, which is interesting given how vital zinc is to those systems.
It really makes you think about the importance of diet, doesn't it? So where are we getting our zinc from?
You hit the nail on the head. Diet is paramount when it comes to zinc. Foods like red meat and oysters are excellent sources. But for those who lean towards a more plant-based diet, things get a bit tricky.
Why is that?
Well, plant-based sources often contain compounds called phytates, which can bind to zinc and make it difficult for our bodies to absorb. They're found in things like unrefined cereals and legumes, so even if you're eating a healthy, balanced plant-based diet, you could still be at risk for zinc deficiency.
That's good to know. So assuming we're absorbing zinc properly, what happens to it in the body? Does it just float around until it's needed?
Not at all. It's a carefully orchestrated process. Once absorbed, zinc is bound to proteins like albumin and cleverly stored in specialized little compartments called zincosomes. Think of it as a delicate dance of supply and demand.
I love that analogy, a delicate dance. And I'm guessing those zinc transporters we mentioned earlier are the choreographers.
Precisely. We have this intricate network of zinc transporters, creatively named ZIP and ZNT, which essentially act as gatekeepers, controlling the movement of zinc within cells and even between different organelles.
So it's like a microscopic transportation system, ensuring zinc gets to where it's needed, when it's needed.
That's a great way to visualize it. These transporters are found on cell membranes throughout the body, highlighting how vital maintaining precise zinc levels is for every single cell. And when it comes to the immune system, well, that's where zinc truly shines.
Let's talk about that. What makes zinc so important for a healthy immune system?
Think of it this way. Zinc is essentially a conductor of the immune orchestra. It's crucial for the development, maturation, and function of a whole range of immune cells. Without enough zinc, the harmony is disrupted, and the immune response can be compromised.
So not enough zinc, and the music goes off key.
Uh-huh.
What are some of the specific consequences of that disruption?
Well, one example is the impact on natural killer cells, or NK cells. These are crucial players in our immune system's frontline defense. When zinc is deficient, their function weakens, making us more susceptible to infections. It's like having a security system with a faulty alarm. You're more vulnerable to intruders.
That makes sense. The study also mentioned something called zinc signals. It sounds almost like zinc is communicating with our cells.
That's a brilliant observation. Zinc is far from just a passive passenger in our cells. It actively participates in cellular communication through a variety of these zinc signals. Some are rapid, like a sudden burst of activity triggered by a receptor, while others are more sustained, influencing long-term changes within the cell.
So there's this constant communication happening, with zinc playing a crucial role in coordinating the immune response.
Exactly. And if we zoom in even further, we see that zinc directly influences those crucial signaling pathways within our immune cells. It does this by regulating enzymes, the tiny workers that control so many cellular processes.
Wow, it's like zinc is the foreman on a construction site. making sure all the workers are doing their jobs correctly.
I like that analogy. And to add another layer of complexity, zinc even influences the production of reactive oxygen species, those powerful molecules our bodies use to fight off pathogens.
This is all so incredibly intricate. It's amazing how these tiny elements have such profound effects on our health.
It really is. And there's even more to uncover. We haven't even touched on zinc finger proteins yet.
Zinc finger proteins. Those sound intriguing. What are they all about?
These are essentially master regulators that bind to our DNA and control which genes are turned on and off. And guess what? They need zinc to function correctly, hence the name.
Ah, I see. So if someone is deficient in zinc, could that affect the function of these zinc finger proteins and throw a wrench into the whole gene regulation system?
You got it. One example is the protein A20, which has anti-inflammatory properties. If there's not enough zinc, the balance can be disrupted, potentially leading to uncontrolled inflammation. That's definitely not a good thing.
This is all starting to paint a pretty clear picture. Zinc isn't just involved in immune function. It's involved in multiple levels. It's like it's holding the whole system together.
Exactly, and the research goes even deeper, showing how zinc influences a range of specific immune processes, each one playing a critical role in keeping us healthy.
Well, I'm hooked. Tell me more about these specific processes. What kind of things are we talking about?
Let's start with T cells. These are like the special forces of our immune system, and zinc is crucial for their activation and differentiation, meaning it helps them become the specialized fighters they need to be. Then there's the formation of neutrophil extracellular traps, or nets. These are literally like sticky nets that neutrophils, another type of immune cell,
No.
throw out to trap and kill pathogens.
Wow, nets. That's incredible. So zinc helps with that too.
It does. And then we have TLR4 signaling. This one might sound a bit technical, but basically TLR4 is like an alarm system on our cells. It recognizes specific molecules on bacteria and triggers a cascade of events to fight them off.
So zinc is involved in raising the alarm when bacteria invade.
Yes. The research suggests that zinc is essential for making sure this alarm system is working properly, ensuring that the response isn't too weak or too strong. It's all about balance, just like we've been seeing with everything else.
It seems like this delicate balance is a key theme when it comes to zinc.
It is, and the research makes it very clear. Both zinc deficiency and excess can be detrimental to the immune system.
That makes sense. Too much of a good thing can be just as harmful as not enough. It really highlights zinc's role as a gatekeeper, ensuring everything runs smoothly.
Exactly. And speaking of things not running smoothly, that brings us to the fascinating and sometimes concerning link between zinc dysregulation and a variety of diseases.
That's what I was just thinking about. We've talked about how crucial zinc is, so it's not surprising that imbalances can lead to problems. What are some of the specific diseases that are linked to zinc?
Well, there's quite a list, actually. But to really grasp the impact of zinc, I think it's best to delve into a few specific examples.
All right, I'm ready. Let's hear it.
All right, so let's dive into some specific examples where zinc dysregulation plays a role in disease. We've touched on how zinc deficiency can impact cognitive function, so let's start there.
Okay. I'm really curious to learn more about that connection. I know we mentioned cognitive decline earlier, but what does that actually look like?
Well, imagine your brain as a complex electrical circuit. Zinc is essential for the smooth flow of signals between neurons, those nerve cells that allow us to think, learn, and remember.
So it's like zinc is keeping the current flowing smoothly through the brain's wiring.
Exactly. And when there's not enough zinc, that flow gets disrupted. This can manifest as problems with memory attention and even language processing. In fact, studies have shown a correlation between zinc deficiency and an increased risk of developing Alzheimer's disease.
Alzheimer's. That's concerning. Is that because zinc plays a role in preventing those amyloid plaques and tau tangles we hear so much about?
That's one of the theories. You see, zinc is involved in the function of several enzymes that are responsible for breaking down amyloid beta, one of the proteins that forms those plaques. So when zinc is deficient, this breakdown process can be hindered, allowing amyloid beta to accumulate.
Ah, so it's like zinc is part of the cleanup crew in the brain, helping to remove those harmful proteins. And when it's not around in sufficient amounts, the trash starts piling up.
A perfect analogy. There's also evidence suggesting that zinc can actually bind to amyloid beta, potentially stabilizing those plaques and making them more resistant to removal.
So too much zinc might actually be a bad thing in this context. That seems counterintuitive given its other benefits.
It's all about balance, right? In the case of Alzheimer's, the ideal scenario seems to be having just the right amount of zinc enough to support those crucial enzymes, but not so much that it contributes to plaque formation. It's a delicate tightrope walk.
This really highlights how complex the interplay between zinc and our health can be. It's not just about getting enough, it's about getting the right amount in the right places.
Absolutely. And that brings us to another fascinating example, the role of zinc in autoimmune diseases, specifically multiple sclerosis.
I'm all ears. Tell me more about that connection.
Well, as you know, multiple sclerosis, or MS, is an autoimmune disease where the body's immune system mistakenly attacks the protective covering of nerve fibers called myelin. This disrupts the transmission of nerve impulses, leading to a range of neurological symptoms.
Right, it's like the insulation on electrical wires getting damaged, causing short circuits.
Exactly. And research suggests that zinc deficiency may actually contribute to the development and progression of MS.
How so?
One theory is that zinc deficiency can disrupt the balance of certain immune cells, leading to an overactive immune response that targets myelin. In fact, studies have shown that people with MS often have lower levels of zinc in their blood and even in the lesions in their brains.
So could zinc supplementation be a potential strategy for managing MS?
That's a question researchers are actively exploring. Some studies have shown promising results in animal models of MS, suggesting that zinc might help reduce inflammation and protect nerve cells. However, more research is needed to determine its effectiveness in humans and to establish optimal dosage recommendations.
It's incredible how something as seemingly simple as zinc can have such profound implications for a complex disease like MS. What other examples can you share?
Let's switch gears and talk about a group of inherited disorders that affect connective tissues, Ehlers-Danlos syndromes, or EDS.
EDS. Remind me what connective tissues are again.
Connective tissues are essentially the glue that holds our bodies together. They provide support and structure to our organs, bones, muscles, and skin. Think tendons, ligaments, and even the walls of our blood vessels.
Okay, so EDS affects those tissues. How does zinc play a role?
Well, one particular zinc transporter, ZIP13, plays a crucial role in the development of healthy connective tissues. Mutations in the gene that codes for this transporter can disrupt zinc transport and contribute to the symptoms of EDS.
So it's another case of a faulty transporter leading to problems.
Precisely. And in this case, it's the impaired transport of zinc that disrupts the production of collagen, a key protein that gives connective tissues their strength and elasticity. This can lead to overly flexible joints, stretchy skin, and fragile tissues that are prone to injury.
This reminds me of how we talked about zinc's role in bone health earlier. It all seems to come back to collagen, doesn't it?
You're absolutely right. Collagen is a vital component of many tissues, including bone, tendons, ligaments, and skin. So when zinc levels are off, it can impact the integrity of these tissues, making them weaker and more susceptible to damage.
It's amazing how interconnected everything is in the body. We've covered a lot of ground here, from cognitive function and autoimmune diseases to connective tissue disorders.
Yeah.
What other areas are impacted by zinc dysregulation?
We've talked about zinc's importance for immune function, but it's also crucial for regulating inflammation. When zinc levels are low, that delicate balance can be thrown off, leading to heightened inflammation and increased susceptibility to infections.
That makes sense. We've seen how zinc is involved in modulating the immune response, so it stands to reason that it would play a role in inflammation as well.
Exactly. And this becomes particularly important when we talk about sepsis, a life-threatening condition that occurs when the body's response to infection spirals out of control, leading to widespread inflammation and organ damage.
Sepsis sounds terrifying. How does zinc factor into that equation?
During sepsis, the body experiences a massive inflammatory response, and this often leads to a significant drop in zinc levels.
So in addition to fighting the infection, the body is also dealing with a zinc deficiency on top of that.
That's right. And this zinc deficiency can further impair the immune system's ability to fight off the infection, potentially worsening the outcome of sepsis.
It's like a vicious cycle. The infection triggers inflammation, which leads to zinc deficiency, which further weakens the immune response.
Exactly. It's a complex interplay of factors, and researchers are actively investigating the potential benefits of zinc supplementation in managing sepsis. Some studies have shown that zinc might help improve immune function and reduce inflammation in sepsis, but more research is needed to establish clear guidelines for its use.
It sounds like there's a lot of potential there. What about
Yeah.
diabetes? I'm curious about the connection between zinc and this metabolic disorder.
Diabetes is a complex condition characterized by high blood sugar levels. due to problems with insulin, the hormone responsible for regulating blood sugar. And guess what? Zinc plays a vital role in several aspects of insulin metabolism.
Really? I had no idea. Tell me more about that connection.
Well, for starters, zinc is actually a component of insulin itself. It's essential for the production, secretion, and signaling of this crucial hormone.
So if someone is zinc deficient, could that actually affect their insulin levels and contribute to diabetes?
That's what research suggests. Studies have shown that zinc deficiency can impair insulin production and secretion, potentially increasing the risk of developing diabetes.
That makes sense. But what about people who already have diabetes? Could zinc be helpful for them as well?
There's some evidence to suggest that zinc supplementation might benefit people with diabetes. Some studies have shown that it can improve blood sugar control and insulin sensitivity, meaning the body cells become more responsive to insulin signals.
So it might help regulate those blood sugar levels more effectively.
It might. However, as with many things in nutrition and health, more research is needed to confirm these benefits and to determine optimal dosage recommendations for people with diabetes.
It seems like we're seeing a recurring theme here. Zinc is involved in so many crucial processes in the body, and both deficiency and excess can have significant consequences.
You're absolutely right. It really underscores the importance of maintaining that delicate balance when it comes to zinc.
We've explored a lot of ground here, from the brain to the immune system and beyond. It's remarkable how much impact this one element has on our overall health. I'm wondering, is there anything else we should cover before we wrap up our deep dives into zinc and disease?
Actually, there's one more area I think is important to touch on: wound healing.
Wound healing. That's interesting. I wouldn't have immediately connected zinc to that process.
It might not be the first thing that comes to mind, but zinc actually plays a crucial role in every stage of wound healing, from the initial inflammatory response to tissue repair and regeneration.
How so?
Well, remember how we talked about zinc being essential for immune function and regulating inflammation? Those same properties come into play when it comes to wound healing.
Right. The body needs to mount an inflammatory response to fight off any potential infection in the wound. But that inflammation also needs to be carefully controlled so it doesn't get out of hand.
Exactly. And zinc helps with that delicate balance. But its role goes beyond just inflammation. Zinc is also crucial for cell growth and division, which are essential for rebuilding damaged tissue. It's involved in the production of collagen, which we know is vital for wound strength and elasticity. And it even plays a role in protecting cells from oxidative damage, which can hinder the healing process.
Wow, so zinc is involved in multiple aspects of wound healing, from controlling inflammation to promoting tissue regeneration. It's pretty remarkable.
It is, and this is why zinc deficiency can actually impair wound healing, leading to slower healing times and an increased risk of complications.
That makes a lot of sense. So if someone has a wound, could supplementing with zinc actually help it heal faster?
That's something researchers are investigating. Some studies have shown promising results with zinc supplementation, particularly in people who are already zinc deficient. However, as always, more research is needed to confirm these benefits and establish optimal dosages.
Well, I think this adds another layer to our understanding of just how versatile and essential zinc is for our health. It's truly a remarkable element.
I completely agree. It's involved in so many fundamental processes, and maintaining adequate zinc levels is crucial for overall well-being.
Before we move on, I'd love to take a moment to recap what we've learned about zinc and its connection to these various diseases. It's been a lot of information to process, and I want to make sure we're all on the same page.
That's a great idea. Let's take a moment to summarize the key takeaways from our discussion.
Okay, so let's rewind for a second, recap all this info about zinc's impact on different diseases.
That's good.
We started with the brain, exploring how zinc deficiency can kind of mess up neural communication, potentially affecting things like memory and attention, and even increasing the risk of Alzheimer's.
Yeah, we talked about how zinc is involved in clearing out those harmful amyloid beta proteins, acting like a brain custodian.
Right.
But too much zinc might actually get in the way of that, which again shows how important that balance is.
For sure. Then we shifted gears to multiple sclerosis, an autoimmune disease. The immune system basically attacks the protective covering of nerves.
Right.
And we talked about how not having enough zinc could contribute to that imbalance and maybe make the disease worse.
Yep, and research is ongoing. But some studies show that zinc supplements could actually be a new way to manage MS by reducing inflammation and protecting those nerve cells.
Interesting. We also touched on Ehlers-Danlos syndromes, a group of inherited disorders that weaken connective tissues. and learned that a specific zinc transporter, ZIP13 I think it was called,
AZP13, that's the one.
plays a key role in making sure our connective tissues are strong and healthy. And mutations in that transporter can actually lead to those EDS symptoms.
That's right. And don't forget about the link between zinc and inflammation. When our zinc levels are too low, things get out of whack, leading to too much inflammation and making us more likely to get infections. And this is especially important when we're talking about sepsis, which is a really serious condition where the body kind of overreacts to an infection.
Right. Sepsis is definitely scary stuff.
Yeah.
So we learned that during sepsis, zinc levels can really plummet, which basically weakens the immune system's ability to fight off the infection.
Yeah, it's not good.
Then we jumped into the world of diabetes and found out that zinc is a key player in insulin metabolism,
It really is.
and that not getting enough zinc could actually affect insulin levels,
And potentially contribute to diabetes.
right? And on the flip side, some studies suggest that zinc supplements could actually help folks with diabetes.
Yeah, by potentially improving blood sugar control
Yeah.
and making the body's cells more responsive to insulin.
And last but not least, we talked about the pretty surprising role of zinc in wound healing. Who knew that zinc was involved in every step of the process,
It's amazing, isn't it?
from controlling inflammation to actually helping regenerate tissue?
Yeah, it's involved in so many things.
So we've covered a lot of ground here, from the brain to the immune system and beyond. It's incredible how much one little element can impact our health.
It really is. I think for me, what's most interesting is how zinc acts like a linchpin for so many essential things our body does. Brain function, regulating the immune system, hormone production, even repairing our tissues. The list goes on, and it just reinforces how important it is to not just get enough zinc, but to make sure our body can actually absorb it and use it properly.
Totally agree. This whole conversation has definitely made me think differently about nutrition, about how those seemingly little things can really make a big difference.
Exactly. It's all about being mindful of what we eat, understanding how things like phytates can affect zinc absorption, and maybe even talking to our doctors about checking our zinc levels, especially if we think we might not be getting enough.
So for everyone listening, what's the big takeaway message?
I think the main takeaway is that zinc deserves a lot more recognition. It's not just some random trace mineral. It's an absolutely essential nutrient that plays a vital role in keeping us healthy.
I love that. And as we wrap up our deep dive today, I'm kind of left with a feeling of wonder and a few questions I'm still pondering.
Oh, like what?
Well, if zinc is so important in all these different processes, could there be even more benefits we haven't discovered yet? Could it even be the key to new treatments for other diseases?
Those are great questions. And while we don't have all the answers right now, scientists are constantly researching and learning more and more about the ways zinc impacts our health.
It's exciting to think about all those possibilities. So to all our listeners out there, keep learning, keep exploring, and don't be afraid to chat with your healthcare providers about zinc.
For sure, it's definitely a topic worth discussing.
Well, that's all the time we have for today. Thank you for joining us for this deep dive into the fascinating world of zinc and the immune system. We'll see you next time on The Deep Dive.